this is so historically important. It was a turning point in all of human history. Because instead of going east and evangelizing that part of the world, God said, I want you to go west. Suppose Paul said, nope, that's my plan. This is what I believe is the right thing to do, and I'd already planned this. I'm sticking with it. No. Let me tell you where we get in trouble. Many people say, well, I want to do what's right. And they pray, and after they pray, they decide, well, I do feel this, but I think since I've already planned this, I'll go this way. You must always give God time if he wants to change your plan. And I can think of many times when I had made a decision about something, and then get down to praying about it, and I'd have a different feeling. Yeah, God didn't give me 25 reasons for changing my mind. I just all of a sudden got a little uneasy about doing what looked right. I'd already planned, had it all set up, and as long as I was on my feet, thing to do. Get on my knees, not the thing to do. I can tell you, every single solitary time I've obeyed him, he blessed me, and the times that I decided I was going to do it myself, I missed it. Because listen, our knowledge is limited. Our wisdom is limited. God's wisdom, listen, he already knows all the details. We don't know all the details. Because you see, sometimes it takes time to know what the details are, and he who sits above all time already knows what they are. So if he says, don't do that, don't do it, you get in trouble. I've told people that in their dating relationship, about finances, about many, many things. Well, I know that sounds right, and Pastor, thank you very much. Here's what I think. Can you tell me that God told you to do this? Well, no, I can't say that, but I don't know that God speaks to me that way. And they give me all these excuses for not getting on their knees and finding out what does God, well, you know, God doesn't speak to me that way. He will if you let him. Give him time. God wants to show you the right thing to do and the right time to do it. Then, of course, another good reason for prayer, and the way it helps us is it eliminates worry and anxiety about something, because that always wastes time. And you recall, for example, in Philippians, and you know this passage by heart, in Philippians, the 4th chapter, and the 6th and 7th verse, what does he say? He says, don't be anxious about anything, but do what? Spend your time in prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. Let your requests be made known to God. And he says, listen, the peace of God will surround you, garrison you about, protect you in those kind of times. God will protect us. Listen, fretting, anxiety, and all the rest does nothing but waste time. Why should I wring my hands over something that God already knows all the answer to, and all I have to do is just wait for him? Listen, you can start down the wrong path. Watch this carefully. You can start down the wrong path out of ignorance. But if you will begin to ask God, now, Lord, I want you to confirm I'm heading the right direction, and if I'm not, I want you to stop me. What will he do? He will stop you. He may, first of all, give you a signal in your spirit that you're getting uneasy about it. Then you have to decide, is my uneasiness God's voice, or is this just something going on inside of me? Remember this. He's living on the inside of you. He desires to protect you. Make the right decisions. Head in the right direction. And when he sends you a signal, don't just try to explain it away. Well, that's just my feeling. And listen, if God tells you something, you know it's from God, and every one of your friends says to you, don't do it. You have to decide that you're going to believe. Then, of course, it produces a sense of calmness and peacefulness, making us more productive. And the wonderful thing about starting the day with him is this. You open your heart to him today. Lord, I want you to speak to my heart today. I'm available for your instruction today. I want you to guide my steps. Let no iniquity come into my heart. I want to listen carefully to you. I want to be sensitive to your will today. When you start the day off, listen, in the Word of God and talking to him, you say, well, is God going to speak to me? Yes, he will. He says, and one of my favorite verses is real simple. The entrance of your word into my heart gives me light. What light? Light of understanding of what God is saying to us. And then, of course, what we are doing is we are inviting God into our activity to guide us, to make us productive. When you say, Father, I want you to guide me today, what you say is, I'm inviting you into my life today, Lord, and I want you to guide me in all the decisions that I make. I want to make wise decisions. I don't want to waste my time. I want to spend my time wisely. So I'm asking you to guide me and to help me. Will he do it? Yes, he will. What does he say? He says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean to your own understanding. It's inadequate. In all of your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. Instead of wasting time trying to figure out, well, Lord, what do you want me to do? And listen, he gives us confidence. And that confidence is going to make our decisions more productive. Possibly make, because he knows what they are. Not fretting and worrying and being anxious about it, but listening to him, reading his word, letting him speak to your heart, inviting him into your life, confidence that he'll take care of it. And when I think about that, I think about the fact, if I'm praying, I don't have to fret over things. If I've asked him to give me direction, I expect him to give me direction. But many people say, well, you know, I have prayed about it, and then they add that terrible word, B-U-T. That is, I have prayed about it, but what? Has God singled you out not to speak to you? Now, if you're not a believer, none of this works. When you reject his son, you shut him out. You say, oh, but I pray, and God doesn't say no. So which God are you praying? Is it the Jehovah of the Word of God? If you're praying to the God of the Bible, he says, if I regard iniquity in my heart, he'll not hear me. You cannot live in sin and have God speak to you except to convict you of your sin. And to get that straightened out, then other things work. But prayer changes everything in life. Here's what I discovered in life. I watched this growing up. I watched people get to a certain age, say my present age and even a little bit younger. Here's what I watched them do. They were just active, and then here's what I heard. Well, you know, I can't come to prayer meeting anymore. I can't come to Sunday night church anymore. You know, at this age, it doesn't work. Or, you know, I can't come to church every Sunday morning at this point in my life. Well, let me ask you a question. It just may be that you're getting old because you're ignoring God. In other words, why should God keep your energy up? Why should he keep your intelligence up? Why should he keep you sharp? Why should he keep you fruitful in life if all you can do is just sit around and just sort of waste your time? Listen, there are a lot of wonderful things in life, but there's nothing in life that God intended for you and me to enjoy or to participate in at the expense of spending time with him. Nothing.
Listening to In Touch, the teaching ministry of Dr. Charles Stanley. For Christians, the quality of our relationship with Jesus determines our level of satisfaction and joy. Make him your priority, and you'll be able to see things from his perspective and rest in his plan for you. Dr. Stanley's message continues tomorrow. And to listen again, go to intouch.org and click on Today on Radio. If you'd like a copy of Dr. Stanley's complete message, you can order it from our online store. The title is Prayer, Our Time Saver, or look for his Life Principles to Live By teaching set. Our web address again is intouch.org, or call or text to 1-800-IN-TOUCH. If you prefer, you can write to us at In Touch, Post Office Box 7900, Atlanta, Georgia 30357. Have you ever fallen asleep while praying? You don't necessarily need to feel bad about that. Hear an interesting perspective just ahead in today's Moment with Charles Stanley.
How can you live light and free in a world where so often we're weighed down by burdens and commitments? Christ gives us hope so that we can live with a lightness and joy that impacts not only our time on earth, but also that of the people around us. In Touch Ministries presents Light and Free, a new booklet to help you in your everyday faith journey. Included in the guide are discussions, prayers, and reflection questions. Order your free booklet today at intouch.org/light.
How far are you willing to go to trust God?
With my family.
With my home, my future.
When things are going great.
And when things are going not so great.
I'm willing, but just don't know how to completely trust God.
If you and I genuinely love Him, and if we really believe that His love is perfect, we will indeed trust Him in the most difficult times.
Can You Still Trust God by Dr. Charles Stanley. Order yours today. Go to intouch.org/store.
You're listening to In Touch. Sometimes a busy mind gets in the way of receiving instruction from God. Learn how the Lord uses periods of rest to bring clarity to believers in A Moment with Charles Stanley.
When you talk to God about something and you're deadly serious about it, and you want a solution or an answer, and you pray yourself to sleep, when you go to sleep, your conscious mind and all that thinking you're doing suddenly is no longer there because you're asleep. Your subconscious mind, which God has given to every single one of us, which keeps your heart beating all night long while you're not even thinking about what's going on and everything else, your subconscious mind goes to work. And because you're a believer, the Spirit of God is in your subconscious mind. You ask God to give you a direction. You ask God to settle the issue. You ask God to show you what to say. You ask God to help you through this problem. And what's happened? You took it to Him. You went to sleep. You got out of the way mentally. So your subconscious mind, controlled by the Holy Spirit, can work. And then what happens? You wake up, and sometimes it's just that fast. Or sometimes it may be an hour or so, a week, or whatever it might be. God works while you and I are sleeping. And therefore the thing we should do is to be sure we go to sleep with the right thing on our mind. You have this, not just intuition as we call it, but spiritual discernment says, I'm going to get God's viewpoint about this. And the reason that you've got to mix your prayer with the Word of God is because it's the Word that guides your thinking. And then you get His thoughts. And when you get His thoughts, you're going to get His will and His plan.
You can learn more about the power of prayer at intouch.org. And if this program has encouraged you to know Jesus better, please let us and the people around you know. Tomorrow on In Touch, being busy and being productive are not always the same thing. We'll continue learning how prayer helps us prioritize our to-do list. Tuesday on In Touch, the teaching ministry of Dr. Charles Stanley. This program is a presentation of In Touch Ministries, Atlanta, Georgia, and remains on this station through the grace of God and your faithful prayers and gifts.
The Crawford Stand with the president of Crawford Media Group, Don Crawford.
Politicians lie. Oh, do they ever. And all of them do. Do you know of any politician at any level of government who tells the truth? The whole truth and nothing but the truth all the time? Do you? Boy, if you do, I sure don't. I don't. It is as though for one to become a politician is for that candidate or elected official to embrace the lie, to compromise, to sell the soul, to play the game, the political game. Politicians deceive. They will do or say virtually anything to get elected and then get reelected. So much of we the people have come to expect that, and worse, accept that. We do our best to determine facts and truth, and we make our decisions to vote so often on the basis of faulty facts, the best alternatives, knowing that trust, ultimate trust in the candidate, the person, the platform, the promises are anything but certain once that candidate gets in office and takes power and becomes a member in good standing of the political class, a class of individuals who regard themselves as better than us, entitled, and almost always without accountability. It's a sad day in America as we look at anything political. At least, that's my take. That's my view. What's yours? What do you think about elections 2024? Probably the most important in American history. But those elections do now draw near this very November, federal, state, and local, which will determine the future of America. And that future is not decades or even years away.
Tomorrow, as evil forces gain traction, are Americans asleep at the wheel? I'm Bill McCormick.
The American flag was burned in Tehran again today. In a dozen other places, the stars and stripes were trampled underfoot. What is happening to the greatest nation on earth? Has the moral leader of the West become a weak, pitiful giant? And if it has it happened to the people of this nation? Is it true? Have Americans lost their fight? Why do we allow third-rate dictators around the globe to pick on Americans and go without punishment? And why, after Americans have stood up to support so many others in distress, does it seem that no one wants to stand up for America? The men and women who served in the wars today can't even afford to live decently in retirement. It was American Marshall Plan know-how that saved Western Europe from communist domination. It is in these countries today that American servicemen can barely make ends meet because their dollars are worth so little. America has never turned away refugees seeking freedom and security. Yet, when America looks around for help, grinning oil sheiks say only pay more. Even the Soviet Union, boasting we will bury you, is allowed to buy American wheat because its crops have failed. When Americans were begged over and over to save someone in some distant place from disaster, you never asked, what are their politics? How can they repay our help? Americans only wanted to know how much is needed, and can we send it faster? We see Americans pleading with Cambodians to allow us to save their own people. The Reds worry about political implications. Americans worry about dying children. The boat people, the Vietnam War orphans, Cubans fleeing Castro's dictatorship, Hungarians escaping Soviet tanks, the millions uprooted by the Holocaust. These and countless others have always found a safe haven in the U.S. of A. America has drawn its strength from the influx of new blood, but there is growing evidence that this strength is dwindling. Could your critics and enemies be taking heart from what they see here? What do petroleum potentates think when they see Americans drawing guns on each other to be first in line for gasoline? What do the Kremlin leaders think when they see American judges allowing pornographers to flourish while telling school children they can't say a silent prayer before class? What do even your friends think when they see Americans waving communist banners and donning armbands to march in the uniform of this nation's enemies? If some radicals think they can burn your flag and kill your diplomats and get away with it, maybe part of the reason is what they believe you have shown them. They are wrong. The penny anti-Hitler impersonators, the arrogant petrodollar potentates, the tyrannical ayatollahs don't believe that you can stand up, America. They don't think Americans have the fortitude to tell them, keep your lies, stuff your ultimatums, and to hell with your oil. They don't believe the spoiled, luxury-loving Americans can endure the hardship they threaten. They figure America has exchanged its principles for their petroleum. They see American compassion as weakness and American restraint as fear. Are they right, or are you willing to stand up, America? Are you willing to stand up and say, we've had it with those who accept our food, our technical help, our money, and then repay kindness with insult, injury, and intimidation? Are you ready to let them know enough is enough? We are fed up? Then stand proud and say, now we are determined. Now we are united. We are Americans. Are you ready to tell the world if they aren't willing to prove they're your friend, then they'll have to accept the consequences? You've done it before, and you can do it again. It's time for Americans to stand up. Stand up for what America stands for.
The Truth. 77 KAAM, Garland, Dallas, Fort Worth.
The following program was pre-recorded at an earlier time, is not live, and therefore the hosts of the program are unable to take your phone calls.
We got a big update. Trump fights back with a major lawsuit against the DOJ.
Keeping you informed and engaged, now more than ever. This is Seculo. We want to hear from you. Share and post your comments or call
Logan Seculo joined the studio with executive producer Will Haynes. We're going to have a great show today. Give us a call if you want to speak on air. 1-800-684-3110. That's 1-800-684-3110. As people start to tune in, people start to watch. We want to bring up sort of the breaking news that came out, which is, again, yes, there's another Trump lawsuit, but maybe not the way you're thinking. Because maybe it's, the shoe is on the other foot, if you will. Will?
That's right. So this morning, or over the weekend, the president's attorneys informed the Department of Justice of his intent to sue for $100 million in damages over the execution of the search warrant at Mar-a-Lago back in 2022. So this is an administrative tort claim against the DOJ. It argues that Attorney General Garland and Director Wray applied, quote, inconsistent standards and were guilty of, quote, clear dereliction of constitutional principles. This is the case that Judge Cannon dismissed just weeks ago on the grounds that the special counsel was not constitutionally appropriate in that role and was not appointed under the Constitution. And so what we have now is the president going on the offensive, seeking $100 million in damages. Now, the DOJ has 180 days from receipt of the intent to sue to respond to the notice and try to come to a resolution. If not, then the suit can move forward in federal court. So we will see what happens. This is a move at a time where the president is looking to go on the offensive and push back against the deep state.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a pretty interesting time as we are, really in the final days of this campaign. We do have the concept of a debate on the table now. The 3 debates, potentially 1 debate, 1 agreed upon, but will they show up? The other, there's a whole lot of uncertainty there. Do you think the debates will happen? I'm curious your thoughts. 1-800. Do you think they should happen? Not only will they happen, so maybe 2 questions I have for you. Will they happen and should they happen? Give us a call at 1-800-684-3110. You can put that in the comments as well. I'd love to hear from you. But put it in the comments. What do you think? Do you think there will be a debate? And do you think that will happen on Fox News? Where do you think it will happen? Give me your commentary there in the chat. Again, phone lines are open at 1-800-684-3110. We're also going to talk about a little bit later some of the Harris campaigns. I don't know. It seems to be that they are parroting a bit of the Trump talking points. Just to be like, hey, if you haven't heard what Trump is saying, by the way, we're just going to repeat some of those as well, claim them as our own, steal off of, your friend's homework. That's going on right now. It's going to be a very interesting time. We're going to discuss that as well. I'm sure some of you have heard about that again at 1-800-684-3110. I did want to take a minute because we are just about halfway through. We're August 12th of this year, and I want to take a minute to tell you about the ACLJ's Life and Liberty Drive for August. Look, it has been a remarkable time. We knew July was going to be tough. August is tough. We know that. We see the rise of all sorts of costs. We know it's not easy right now, but we are involved in so many important things. There's one that come this Wednesday we're going to be able to start talking about. And I'm so excited about this one because sometimes there are, and we have to wait. It's not like I can tell you right now because a lot of what we're dealing with is the law. We're dealing with lawsuits that are being filed and all that. You don't want to show your cards all at one time. But hopefully by Wednesday we're going to be able to start talking about this. A case and a moment that happened to me firsthand just by living in this world that we live in. I encountered something, and when I encountered it, I felt like the ACLJ had to get involved. We're going to get involved legally and spiritually, and for the heart of the nation, we're going to do that, and you're going to hear about that coming up soon. Give us a call. Phone lines are jammed right now, 1-800-684-3110. Oh, no, 2 just opened up, so you can call in right now and get your comments in. But we're in the middle of this Life and Liberty Drive. I encourage you right now. You heard what we were doing for Tulsi Gabbard last week. I got a lot more attention, too. We're submitting FOIA requests on her behalf. We're bringing lawsuits over the targeting, putting her on a terror watch list, and so on and so on. We're also defending Israel for the ICC, so we're going to talk more about Israel. And there's a major prayer case also in federal appeals court today. That's in Ocala, Florida. You've heard about that over the years. And we just won a major victory in California. We're going to discuss that a bit later in the broadcast. We can't do any of that without your financial support. So right now, I'm going to encourage you, scan the QR code if you're watching. If not, go to aclj.org. We only got about a minute break, but it's long enough to go in there, make your donation of any kind. All is doubled financially. We'll be right back.
Champions aren't born. Champions are ordinary people just like you who choose to do the extraordinary, to go the extra mile, to do what is right no matter the cost. It can be a difficult choice, but one any of us can make, including you. You can make a difference. You can be a champion. The legal legal battles we fight and the victories we've won are only possible because of the support of ACLJ members like you. But many of our cases take not only weeks, but months and sometimes years. By setting up a monthly donation, ACLJ champions ensure we have the resources we need to take on these critical legal battles and win. By becoming a monthly donor, you become a champion of life, a champion of liberty, and a champion of freedom. Become an ACLJ champion today. Go to aclj.org/champion.
Hey everyone, this is Jordan Seculo. You've spoken and we've heard you loud and clear. That's why this month we're doing something big. We're proud to announce our brand new ACLJ Life and Liberty Drive. Our legal teams will be focusing on the issues that you, our ACLJ members, have told us matter the most to you. Life and religious liberty. We're redoubling our efforts to beat back the radical left's attack on your constitutional religious freedoms and to defend the sanctity of human life. Life and liberty are the cornerstones of our great nation, but they're not guaranteed. When the values we hold dear are under attack, it's up to all of us to take a stand or risk losing them forever. This is not just a call to fund our legal battles. This is your moment to get in the fight. Just as before, every tax-deductible gift will be doubled, dollar for dollar, through the ACLJ Life and Liberty Drive, giving you twice the impact to defend your freedoms and help us fight to literally save lives. Join the ACLJ in the fight to keep America free. Welcome back to Seculo. I know a lot of you are just joining us right now, so we got to restate what's going on. You may have seen the headline on YouTube or on Rumble. By the way, if you're watching on one of those platforms, you're brand new, welcome. I encourage you to subscribe or follow, whatever it is, on your platform of choice. I mean, actually, a lot of people rewatching on Facebook. Facebook had kind of gone away, I'd say, in Facebook Live, not drawing the numbers it used to draw as people kind of migrated off of Facebook onto other platforms. We're starting to see some more interest in Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, also, thank you. Make sure you're following. We do this show each and every day, Monday through Friday. Put out a lot of other great content as well. So if you're brand new, hit that subscribe button. Really appreciate it. Hit that thumbs up even if you're not brand new. Hit that thumbs up. We appreciate it. But Will, let's talk about this. Let's restate this. People see Trump fights back with lawsuit. Hey, Trump is fighting with a lawsuit. That's right, because former President Trump is set to sue the Justice Department for $100 million, big ones, in damages. This was over the Mar-a-Lago property raid. Give a little background again on that.
That's right. So this is a notice has been served to the Department of Justice in making a claim under the Federal Tort Claims Act. So this is the mechanism for which a private individual can sue the government if they have been wronged in some way by a federal employee that was acting on behalf of the government. So what we're seeing here is that this suit is now there's 180 days that the federal government, the Department of Justice, can respond or try to settle this before going to court. After that, if it is not resolved, then it will go into federal court in the Southern District of Florida. This is the Mar-a-Lago raid case, so the Jack Smith case that was related to the classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. Now, this raid did take place before Jack Smith was appointed. So the FBI first raided, and then after the raid is when Merrick Garland appointed Jack Smith as special counsel. That case has been thrown out of court by Judge Cannon because she ruled that he was unconstitutionally appointed. It wasn't an appropriate appointment. As an officer of the United States would normally need to go through some sort of confirmation process, and he was not. It also violated the Appropriations Act because the Appropriations Amendment in the Constitution, because of the way that they even bragged about having an unlimited budget with unlimited scope to go after the president. So what President Trump is trying to do here is actually fight back. In one of these cases, the first opportunity to fight back, not just be the defendant and fight it all the way to the Supreme Court, by trying to go on the offensive. Now, it's a long shot. These aren't claims that are typically just dished out. It's not an easy process, especially since the case, although it's been thrown out, the raid happened before Jack Smith was appointed, so it wasn't necessarily at the direction of Jack Smith. It was the Attorney General and the FBI Director.
They want to hear that it's Jack Smith directed.
But I understand, but I am laying out the facts. It is not necessarily just an easy road, but I do like to see that when you've seen so much overstep, so much corruption, that we're now seeing someone fight back.
Yeah, I think it's a big deal. I think it's a cool moment. There's also another piece that's going on. You guys talked about this Friday when I was out, which is that one of the cases for Trump has been delayed significantly. We were pushing for it. It was potentially going to happen. It looks like it was approved.
That's right. So we talked about on Friday with Jordan the fact that Jack Smith had asked for another 3-week extension to a status conference that they were supposed to be having this week in the Chutkan case. This is the January 6th case. Judge Chutkan in D.C. is the presiding judge over this.
And say those words, that month and that day. YouTube actually puts a little, here's the truth about it information.
Oh, interesting. Am I telling the truth or not? Who's to say?
Well, it just says, if you don't know what this is, here's a little fun fact.
Well,
like the old cookie.
So in this one, Jack Smith had asked for a 3-week delay, saying that he needed more time to parse out how this case will go forward in light of the immunity decision by the U.S. Supreme Court, as well as the decision by the Supreme Court in the Fisher case. That was the case against another January 6th defendant, that it was the obstruction of an official act were the charges that the Supreme Court said were overbroad. And so that defendant was able to get those removed, and those were also 2 charges that President Trump had been charged with. So within all of these 2 things, these 2 Supreme Court decisions that happened July 1st and June 28th of this year, that now he's saying, I still need more time. It's been over a month. That status hearing would have been plenty of time, you would think, for him to be able to get his ducks in a row to figure out which way to go. He needs more time, and the judge agreed on Friday to push this back. So the new hearing date will be September 5th is when their status hearing will be, which was supposed to be August 16th.
Yeah, so just a couple weeks, 3 weeks from now, that'll be happening. So, I mean, it got delayed, but not extensively, just enough.
That's right. But the big question is, as Jack Smith looks through all this, and in light of what the Supreme Court did, will there even be a case at all to move forward with? How narrow will his scope now become? And will the judge have to do any steps like an evidentiary hearing so she can parse out which things they intend to bring, which may run afoul of the Supreme Court's opinion in the immunity case?
Yeah, I posed a question earlier in the broadcast, which was, do you think the debates will happen? Do you think that, because we saw on over the weekend that Trump and Harris kind of went back and forth about debate. Now, it looks very clearly that the vice presidential debates will likely happen. That seems to be pretty much set in stone, and then the others are being negotiated right now. I want to hear from you, your thoughts on that, and of course, any of this conversation we've had today. You can call in at 1-800-684-3110. Would you like to hear from you? But if you can't right now, and you're watching on YouTube or watching on Rumble, just comment. Tell me what you think. Do you think you can just put, yeah, Logan, I think the debate will happen. No, I don't. You don't have to go into detail. No pressure. Let's go ahead and take a phone call, though. Let's go to Daryl, who's calling in Texas on line 1. Daryl, you're on the air.
Yes, I think the debates will happen. The debates are going to be awesome, but I think the VP debate is going to be drawing way more attention because I think Kamala is going to crash and burn. And I think that's why they sent her this VP, to be able to fight fire with fire, because Vance has fire and Kamala doesn't. So the only way to keep this interesting is to have someone like Walt go up against someone like Vance, because otherwise it'd be child's play.
Yeah, I think, Daryl, that's an interesting point, which is I do think there is sort of a more untraditional, or maybe more traditional rivalry between Vance and Walz, because there is that sort of, they both have a military background, they've now kind of mixed it up a little bit. This does feel more like the traditional debate going into it, where what we have with Harris is this weird situation where obviously Biden lost so bad last time that he had to withdraw. Now she's put in this weird position, he's put in a weird position, because they're not really used to, we're planning on working together this way and having these debates. But when you look at it this way,